Next up, this one is from Darth Maelstrom. Am I the only one who thinks Kevyn Adams is a bad GM?
No, because people have opinions and you're allowed to have that opinion, and there are other people out there that share your opinion. I'm gonna respectfully disagree with you, and I don't know what else to really put into that. I get it, like he's made some questionable decisions, as does any NHL GM, but I think what you'll see is in the upcoming season, this is where it's do or die for him. I would say. I wouldn't say they'd move on from him, but I really think this next season is a huge turning point for this team. So, you could ask me that question in another year. Maybe I'll have a different opinion, but opinions change all the time. And right now, I'm not on the same side of I'm not on the same side of the fence as you are.
JP, I will defer to you, noted Kevyn Adams defender.
I just think even if you disagree with some of the stuff he's done, I think he's turned around this organization, and I think that's pretty much undeniable. This isn't, the Eichel years where we were hoping that we would somehow make the playoffs, and we don't really have like a nice core, but we got a good top half player. Like I think we have a good core, and I think it is different than past years. I just think he's turned around this organization no matter what, even if he hasn't completely, made the right moves. He hasn't gotten into the playoffs yet. I think he's still put the organization in the right direction. And I agree with Christian. This is a huge offseason. I next if he doesn't do much, then I'll eat my words. But I think this will be a big offseason.
Look, Kevyn Adams, he's not perfect. He is very much not a perfect GM. There are things he is good at, and I think primarily is drafting and hoarding capital. His flaws have been utilizing them or being a bit more impatient, being I guess, I guess a go getter. I
In
think
free
if you
agency.
free agency is also a big weakness. Um,
As has
if
been for past regimes too. Like he's not the
for the
only guy
franchise, who's
for
the
the
great
franchise.
who's
Yeah.
the best free agent signing in Sabres history?
What
It's
isn't
Spotchuk.
Sakara?
It's
Spotchuk, not
Spotchuk.
Sakara. Spotchuk.
It's Spotchuk. I think or Tempo Newman. It look he the way I see it, the way I look at Kevyn Adams' tenure, his first season, um, I don't even need to go into the shenanigans. The first day on a job, he fires half a PSE. Going into that offseason, I think it was, I think it's sort of clear that Kruger had a lot of say in the way that team was built. And then obviously he had financial restraints. Look, we can debate about it now, but back then, I don't think they were giving him all the resources to build the team he wanted to, given what was going on in the world at the time. And look, that team failed. It did pretty badly. Um, Moving past that, you had two straight seasons where they outperformed preseason projections by double-digit figures. Okay, that the season they traded Eichel, people were pegging them to be one of the worst NHL teams of all time, and that's not an exaggeration. They were setting themselves up seemingly to have a San Jose Sharks type season. They didn't have that. And the season after, they hit 90 points, scored the third most goals in the NHL, and missed the playoffs by a point. Those are two successful seasons. And look, you look at some of his trades, for example. He handled the tear down almost perfectly. His best trade as GM might always be the Ristolainen trade. I cannot believe they got a top 15 pick for him. The Reinhart trade. Look, the Panthers have very much come out on the better end of that deal, but that's more a testament to Sam Reinhart. You got Yuri Kulik and you got Devin Levi from that trade. And then the Eichel trade. Who in their right mind thought he was going to come out getting the pieces he wanted coming out of that? Nobody in their right mind thought back in 2021, with the state the franchise was in, he was going to get. Nobody even thought he was going to get Peyton Krebs. And he got that, and he got Alex Tuck. So I think he did the teardown very well. And he's drafted very, very well, at least in the first round. Look, you want to look past that. His main failure as GM came the previous season. He totally failed to replace Jack Quinn. His defensive additions were not good. Eric Johnson was a disaster. And even Connor Clifton, look, he settled into a bottom pairing role by the end of the season and was doing better. I think when you signed him for 3 years at $3.3 million, and that was your biggest addition of the offseason, I don't think you were pegging him to be a bottom pair defenseman. That one didn't work out quite as well either. And frankly, I'm glad he made the decision eventually. He waited too long to fire Don Granato. He did. I understand why he took so long. If it was truly up to him the entire time, he waited too long. This past season, is very much on him, and I get the criticism. I don't think he's a bad GM, though. Comparisons are a very dangerous thing. But I think there's a big difference between Kevyn Adams, or let's say the state of the Buffalo Sabres and the state of the Ottawa Senators. Okay, two teams who I think are in the same tier of season that they had this past season. Obviously, the Senators finished worse, but I think, same level there. The Buffalo Sabres are sitting on a wealth of prospects, youth, draft capital, and even cap space to a degree. The Ottawa Senators, trying to refigure out their core, they made their big additions, and they failed. Okay, they lost 2 consecutive years in the top 10 of the NHL, or top 15 of the NHL draft, because they went after Alex DeBrincat, which failed, and they went after Jacob Chychrun, which they're going to trade him, most likely. So that failed. So you got the Ottawa Senators, who are in a similar situation, similar young core, a lot less pieces to work with. Imagine they don't trade Chychrun for Chychrun or for DeBrincat. And, let's say they're in the same place they are now, but they got, Kevin Korchinski. And, hey, they could have drafted Zach Benson. Suddenly they're not in such a bad spot. So I think, like I said, comparisons are dangerous. And you don't want to live by that sort of principle. But Kevyn Adams has fail safes. He has pieces to work with. And he has a core that I still think, for the most part, is fine. So I guess, the question was, am I the only one? Are you the only one that thinks Kevyn Adams is a bad GM? No, you don't. There's plenty of people that don't like what he's doing, but I don't fall into that sort of line of thinking. I have more faith. This is the season. It's basically a make or break season. Whatever he does within the next 4 or 5 months, it's probably going to determine the trajectory of this team, at least, obviously for next season and likely for beyond.